Y'all welcome. I want to welcome y'all to King Hebrew Reports. King Hebrew Reports, man. I am your host, King Hebrew. And listen, man, it's a lot going on right now, man. It's a lot going on between, as y'all know, with Venezuela. There's a lot going on over there in Iran, Israel, Syria, Nigeria. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of war right now with the Muslims. You know, it's a it's a lot going on. And as y'all can see, right, real quick, right, reports indicate that gold in Iran is being flown to Russia as supreme leader braces for a collapse. So today's Sunday. So yesterday afternoon, right? This was Saturday afternoon. I believe the U.S. sent some airstrikes. They started bombing Syria. And if I'm not mistaken, let me pull this up real quick with what's going on in Iran right now. Right, it's a lot of protests going on over there in Israel. Right, it says Iran's Revolutionary Guards declare red line. Iran's Revolutionary Guards declare red line on security as protests escalate. Iranian protesters took on the streets. Iranian protesters took to the streets once again on Saturday night, shouting anti-government chants as Iran's Revolutionary Guards warned that safeguarding security was a red line, and the military vowed to vigorously protect the nation against those seeking to disrupt order and peace. So now, again, always going to this, right? The RSII, this is why Russia's going to get into it. Now, the U.S. says that they're going to get into it, right? They're going to, obviously, I'm trying to get that tweet, man. It's a tweet that Trump gave saying that he has no problem getting involved with what's going on over there in Iran. Because Iran and the U.S., they've been going at it, you know what I'm saying? They've been going back and forth. Now, there's a coalition, there's a military alliance that Iran has with Iraq, Syria, and Russia. It's called the RSII coalition, right? This is a joint intelligence sharing cooperation. You understand? Between Russia, Syria, Iran, and Iraq, right? This is a military coalition. Now we know Russia, they're in bed with China also. Now, these protests, as y'all can see, this been going on. Right, these chants. Let's go. Right, it says right here. It says U.S. President Donald Trump said on Saturday his country was ready to help the movement a day after warning Iran was in big trouble and reiterating that he could order new military action after Washington backed and joined Israel's 12-day war against the Islamic Republic in June. So, hold on. Now we know that, now we just showed, right? There's a RSII. It's Russia, Syria, Iran, and Iraq. Syria is also in that coalition, is also in that military agreement, right? So now, this was, I believe, yesterday also the U.S. bombed Syria. So there's a lot going on as far as and we're gonna get Matthew real quick because everything is happening simultaneously, right? You see with what's going on, I believe Israel Israel just bombed. I forgot. Israel bombed Hezbollah, I believe, yesterday also. So you seen it with Israel, you seen it with Syria, Iran. You know what I'm saying? Russia, they just bombed Ukraine also. This was a couple of days later, also like 2 or 3 days. I believe this was either Thursday or Friday, and then you have what happened to Venezuela. So it's a lot going on, and everything's happening at once. So we're gonna get real quick. Now, before I read this real quick, I'm gonna get Proverbs chapter 14, verse 12. But it says the U.S. military. This is January 10th. U.S. military launches airstrikes against ISIS targets in Syria. Right. In a firm military response to recent hostilities, the United States has launched a new wave of airstrikes against the Islamic State ISIS in Syria. According to a report by Fox News, U.S. officials confirmed on Saturday, January 10th, 2026, that the operation was conducted to further degrade the terrorist group's capabilities. And he also bombed Nigeria. This was on the 25th of December. You know what I'm saying? That was also towards the Muslims. You understand? So again, now before I get this scripture, let me get one more. Let's get this real quick. Bro, I know Russia, they also just bombed Ukraine. But they didn't even use military, like they actually used ICBM missiles. You understand? Hold on. Yeah, this was 3 days ago, right? Russia fired a new missile for a second time in Ukraine, right? A long range ballistic missile. And the reason why this is so important is because it says the Orishnik. This is a missile, right? They got different names for these missiles. So this missile is called the Oreshnik. The Oreshnik missile struck close to Ukraine's border with Poland, a NATO member. So again, as with Russia and Ukraine, as this war has been going on, right? These missiles are being shot. If any missile, right, hits Poland's jurisdiction, remember Poland is part of NATO. They're part of NATO, and the U.S. is part of NATO. That's why in Poland they're close to the border of Ukraine, right? They're right next to each other. So now let's get this real quick with Al Jazeera, right? As you guys can see, these missiles are hitting buildings, killing people. You know what I'm saying? This missile. It hit a residential building, right? It was a Russian airstrike during a heavy snowstorm. Right, Russia fired its hypersonic Oreshnik missile overnight at Ukraine. Moscow confirmed on Friday, striking a city barely miles away from the Ukrainian border with Poland at a time when efforts to forge a peace deal are sputtering. You understand? So again, Ukraine, they're sharing a border with Poland. So Poland's about to get Poland is going to get involved with what's going on over there with Ukraine and Russia. And under the Article 5, right? If one person gets involved, everybody going to get involved. You know what I'm saying? So And this was Friday. This was Friday. Now let's go back. I know Israel, they just sent out some missiles yesterday also. Right? They just hit, let's get this real quick. So US is sending airstrikes. That was yesterday. Russia is sending missiles, right? That was Friday. You got the protests over there in Iran. You understand? Now, what else? What else was I missing? In Israel. So, and the reason why we're bringing this out, right? Christ always taught us. He kept reiterating, right? He kept saying to always watch about these wars. Watch of what's, because it's a lot going on. Everything is happening simultaneously. You understand? Now, let's get Israel real quick. All right, this is 14 hours ago. Iran warns the U.S. Israel of retaliation as unrest enters third week. Iran warns U.S. troops in Israel that they're going to be targets if America strikes over protests. Now we see the U.S. The U.S. hit Nigeria on December 25th. You saw what they did over there to Venezuela. So Iran is telling them, if you guys interfere, if you guys send missiles over here, we're going to retaliate. Now we know the U.S. These Edomites don't give a damn. They have no problem killing people, stealing presidents, invading countries that ain't got nothing to do. Like they're just like it says in Hosea chapter 4, verse 1, lying, killing, and stealing. Right? That's what we're seeing with Babylon. That's what we're seeing with these Edomites. They're stealing, they're lying, and they're killing. Right? Now, this is Reuters.com. Israel is on high alert for a possibility of U.S. intervention in Iran. You understand? So we got to look out for that. Israel and Hamas get ready to go to war in Gaza. This is the Wall Street Journal. You understand? So now we know at least 3 Palestinians were killed in overnight Israeli attack on Gaza, right? This is what I wanted. So this is also this was another a bombing, man. And this is how the people over there living, right? As y'all living in these hotels, man, look at what Israel's doing. Right? Families are just living in tents, just going crazy, man. Like these people out there in the streets, you know, jobs lost, ain't no Publix, ain't no McDonald's in sight. Ain't no Wawa, ain't no nothing, right? But anyways, right? Palestinians inspect damaged tents following an Israeli attack in Gaza City, right? January 9th, man. This is all recent. These all these events are not even 5 days old. Like this is like 2, 3 days. Like this is everything that we're reading about. This is recent, like 2, 3 days ago, right? 2, 3 days. So we're talking about from the 9th to the 11th, probably like what, 2 days. All these attacks, all these bombings, right? 3 Palestinians have been killed and 9 wounded in Israeli attacks in different areas of the Gaza Strip in the last 24 hours, right? Israeli targeted overnight into Sunday included southern Gaza, right? Southwest Gaza City. You understand? So they agreed to a ceasefire. They lied. They broke the covenant. They broke the deal. Now they're back bombing. Uh, right. Israeli jets bombed several areas in the east, right, of central Gaza. You understand? Let's see if this plays so we can get some type of visuals. Now, in the meantime, and I ain't gonna lie, man. Every time these Palestinians see a baby, they wrap him up like a damn Publix sub. Like you know how like at Publix, like when you get a sub, they wrap it up, they put the tape over it. Like every time they get like a baby or like a child, they just wrap them up in like some type of paper. It's crazy, and he just did it in the video. Like they put a child in there, wrap him up real quick, and then put him aside. Like it's because people are dying such an all time high and at such a fast rate that is normal. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's being normalized now because of the amount of missiles. You know what I'm saying? The amount of people that's dying. You know what I'm saying? And of course, they ain't got no food banks. They don't got no shelters. People sleeping in tents over there. So let's get real quick. Matthew 24. Now, again, we got to see what the U.S. is going to do over there in Iran because these protests have been going on for over 3 weeks. So excuse me, the U.S. they're expected to intervene, even though you know what I'm saying because they have that dealing with Israel, they feel entitled to involve themselves right in that situation. So it's the book of Matthew chapter 24. It's the book of Matthew chapter 24 and verse 4. And Yahushua Jesus answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. Verse 6, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Here's the point, verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. So everything you're seeing, all the people being bombed up, you understand, this is the beginning, right, of what's going to come. This is the beginning of the beginning of famines, right? Prices, everything's not going to be all in one day. You know what I'm saying? Again, because Christ, as you're seeing these things, as you're seeing these wars and people out there in the streets, people losing their jobs, people losing parents, losing their kids, right? You got to think, well, that's coming to America. That's coming to Babylon the Great. So the Most High God, these are signs that the Most High God, He's giving you. He's giving you warnings. He's giving you signs saying, listen, if you don't repent, you're going to be caught out there. You're going to be out there without a job. You're going to be out there losing your children. If you don't come back and keep my commandments, teach my people, be sincere, because again, these are warnings. These are signs. So let's get Proverbs real quick. Proverbs chapter 14 and verse 12. There is a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. So as the U.S. is getting involved now, you don't see no other country getting involved but the U.S., right? You don't hear nothing about Hungary or Denmark going around and bombing people. No, the U.S., they feel entitled to go to Venezuela, kidnap people, take oils, right? All that. In their eyes, in their mind, they feel entitled to do these things because that what seems, these agendas, it seems right to them, but the ways thereof are death, right? Because there will be a retaliation, right? With every action, there's a reaction. So again, Proverbs 14 and 12, there is a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. And it's a lot of bombing, it's a lot of killing, it's a lot of stealing. And we know that in Romans chapter 6 and verse 23, right? It says, what the wages of sin is death. You're falsely accusing people of being drug dealers, which gives you the justification to take their oil, you know? So is it about drugs or is it about oil? That's the question. Is what's going on with Venezuela? Is this about drugs or oil? Or are you using drugs as a cover up to you wanting the oil? You know what I'm saying? Trump is using, he's falsely accusing people of selling drugs as a reason to go into their country and take their oil. Right? Same way how Trump, he wants to go to Greenland, which belongs to Denmark, which is part of NATO also. Which also I want to touch into Revelation 17 verse 16 and Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 9. So real quick, Romans chapter 6 and verse 23. For the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life through Jesus Christ our Lord. So the wages of you getting into people's business, you waging war, you putting other people's lives at risk is sin. And the wages of sin is death. Let's get real quick Isaiah 28 and verse 15. Isaiah chapter 28 verse 15. Because ye have said, we have made a covenant with death, and with hell are we at agreement. When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, it shall not come unto us. For we have made lies our refuge, and under falsehood have we hid ourselves. So we know Babylon, we know Trump, we know the senators, the Republicans, the Democrats. They made a covenant with death. They made a covenant to go against Christ. They made a covenant to steal, kill, and manipulate and deceive. They made a covenant with John. Let's get John 8 and 44. It's the book of John, chapter 8 and verse 44. Ye are your father, the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. Now we know America, they've been telling us lies, right? Trying to make up stories and create their own narratives through their own media platforms, right? Compromise media platforms. So it's all deception, right? They'll go on CNN and paint a false narrative of people, certain Venezuelans happy of what's going on over there. But a lot of people are displeased. A lot of people are disappointed. America's not going to show you those people who are disappointed. No, they're going to show you the people that's having their hands raised and joyful and happy, right? They're going to show you the good, never the bad, never the ugly, right? There's two sides to every coin. There's two sides to every coin, depending on how you flip it, right? Remember that. There's two sides to every coin. It's never one-sided. So again, let me see if there's anything else. It's a lot going on right now. It's a lot of wars. Let's get and also with that woman, right, Renee, ICE is shooting people also, killing. ICE just killed somebody. They killed the woman, what, like a day ago? You know what I'm saying? Just madness. I mean, just complete madness. Now let's see what's going on. Iran deploys kill switch to shut down Starlink internet. Yeah, I know there was a blackout also in Iran too. There was a blackout. Iran has taken an unprecedented step in tightening its grip on national communications by disabling access to the Starlink satellite internet service, an action that marks the first time the government has effectively pulled the plug on this alternative connectivity option during widespread unrest. The move comes amid one of the most severe internet blackouts the country has seen, cutting off millions of people from the global web and limiting access to information both inside and outside its borders. This escalation reflects the regiment's determination to stem the flow of real-time reporting and organization among protesters as demonstrations driven by economic hardship and political discontent uh, as political discontent continued to grow. For weeks, nationwide anti-government protests erupted across major cities, and in response, Iran's authorities repeatedly restricted mobile and fixed-line internet services to disrupt communication among demonstrators. While, with traditional networks already crippled, many citizens turn to Starlink satellite system as a potential lifeline to the outside world. In reaction, the governments deploy sophisticated jamming equipment designed to interfere with the signals that connect Starlink terminals to orbiting satellites, effectively neutralizing this alternative form of connectivity. According to Forbes, the blackout has isolated Iranian society, slowed the spread of protest images and witness accounts, and posed grave risk for those still attempting to use banned communication tools. So, hey man, they're cutting off the internet. Protests are increasing. People are speaking. They're protesting against the government over there in Iran. So it's a lot of madness going on over there, man. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of madness, right? And we gotta stay. You know what I'm saying? We gotta stay on top of these news, and we gotta stay on top of it, man. Right? We gotta stay on top of it. Cause this damn devil, this man, he's every day he's losing his mind. Right? This is the last one we're gonna get. All right, I got one more. Officials warn of massacre unfolding in Iran as the death toll climbs. Man, look, right? All praises to the Mo. Look, people losing their damn minds. You understand? Losing their minds. Right. According to a recent report, right, real quick. According to a recent report by the Washington Post, a severe communications blackout has made it difficult to verify exact numbers, but groups like the Center for Human Rights in Iran, the CHRI, have reported that hospitals were overwhelmed, blood supplies are critically low, bodies are being piled up, and the number of casualties is rising by the hour. The violence has intensified significantly since the government cut off internet access earlier this week, a move activists described as a precursor to more lethal suppression. Now let's get one more one more article. Now we're gonna see. Now this is like a damn movie. We're gonna see if the U.S. how the U.S. is gonna get involved. Right. Last one before Iran warns of crushing strike against Israel and U.S. bases in response to attack in Tehran. Right. Amidst the largest anti-government protest the country has seen in over 3 years, Iranian officials have signaled that any foreign intervention or attack on their territory will result in immediate military retaliation. According to a report by Middle East Eye, Mohammed Bakir Qualabaf, the Speaker of Iran's parliament, made the state's position clear by asserting in the case of an attack on Iran, the occupied territories, Israel, as well as all U.S. bases and ships, will be our legitimate target. The geopolitical tension has been exasperated by statements from U.S. President Donald Trump, who recently suggested that the U.S. is ready to help the protesters. Mm. So these protests, it's a civil, there is being identified as a civil unrest rather than a domestic movement. which means what people are dying, right? Despite these warnings, human rights organizations have reported a staggering death toll. The Middle East Eye noting that there are at least 192 people have been killed as the government attempts to suppress the demonstrations. International observers are increasingly concerned about the potential for a regional conflict, especially given that Israel is currently on a high alert footing. The memory of the 12-day war in June, where the U.S. joined Israel in striking Iranian soil, remains fresh in the minds of regional leaders. The situation is further complicated by a near-total internet blackout in Iran, which monitor net blocks reports have lasted for over 60 hours, hindering the verification of the true scale of the violence. As the Center for Human Rights in Iran warns of a massacre unfolding, the Iranian leadership remains defiant, warning against any miscalculation by foreign powers that could ignite a wider war. So again, you guys need to pay attention and listen and read to what's going on between you got it's with the US bombing Syria, the civil unrest, protests in Iran, the US might get involved in that. What the US is doing with Venezuela, how they're seizing, they kidnapped the president of Venezuela, right, Nicolas Maduro. He's going to court while the US is slowly trying to seize their oil. You gotta look out for that. In between, you got Israel and Hezbollah, right? Israel and the Palestinians, right? So it's a lot going on. It's been from the 9th to the 11th, man. This is a full update, current event update of what's going on. And it's a lot going on. Everything's happening simultaneously, man, you know. So again, watch and watch. I'm gonna close out with this right here. Thessalonians, real quick. It's the book of Second Timothy, chapter 4 and verse 5. But watch, but watch, but watch thou in all things. Endure afflictions, do the work of an evangelist, make full proof of thy ministry. Endure afflictions, do the work of an evangelist, make full proof of thy ministry. But watch thou in all things. But 2 Timothy 4 and 5, but watch thou in all things. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 6. Therefore, let us not sleep as do others, but let us watch and be sober. Right? So with that, I want to give all glory, honor, and praises to the Most High God, Yahweh. And with that, shalom.